Hey, what's going on, American government class? Welcome back. It is Thursday, April 1st, 2021. Let's cut straight to it right now. We'll kill the tension. I've got no April Fool's jokes for you. I got none. If you're expecting one this class, not going to be able to do it. Don't have anything for you. Sorry, it's third hour. All the April Fool's Day jokes are gone. Probably had one first hour, second hour. Nothing left for you right now, all right? Lo siento, mi amigos. Today, what do we got, though, instead of an April Fool's Day joke? 4 things. Last class review, as always. Then, we're going to talk today about influences on lawmakers. We've talked about Congress, how a bill becomes a law, who can become a member of Congress. Today, we're going to talk about why they vote the way they vote. What makes them feel the way they feel? Who can kind of make them vote a certain way or pass a specific law? That's what we're talking about today. Then, I told you, instead of a weekly review quiz, we got a vocabulary quiz. That's right, a vocab quiz that you will be able to complete all, I believe there's 20 questions. Same as always, but just on this unit, and more questions. And after that, I'll hit you with your attendance and your assignment. So first things first, last class review, we talked about impeachment. That's right, impeachment. We said the House is the one who brings the case. They impeach, all right? Remember, to impeach just means to accuse. It's a formal accusation. That's what impeachment is. So the House votes, as long as a majority votes yes to impeach a president or a federal officer, they go ahead with the trial. At that point, where does the trial take place? Hopefully you said the Senate. I'm hoping you said the Senate. If you didn't say the Senate, you need to go watch last class's video again because you missed that one a little bit. The Senate holds the trial, all right? 100 members in the Senate. They vote yes or no on whether or not to convict the officer or the president, if the president is the officer. If the president is the one being tried, there's one person who oversees the entire case. That's the leader of not the Senate, the Supreme Court. The Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court is the person who is kind of in charge of everything that goes on. That was it. That's what we talked about. It's on the test. It's important. And speaking of tests, I was going to give you the announcement next week, but you got a test next Friday. I know, I'm sorry. I did it on a Friday. We got to get going. We got a few things left to cover. Only 2 months left to cover. Look at this. It's April 1st. 2 months left to cover this stuff. So we got to make some moves. You have a test on the legislative branch next week. Hopefully we'll have a day to study. And if you have any questions, you'll let me know. But we'll be rocking and rolling by probably Friday of next week. So that being said, it'll definitely be on your test. Make sure you understand impeachment. Today, influences on lawmakers. What is that going to require from you? Very simple. Piece of paper and a pencil. All right, we're going to take some notes. There's only 4 things I'm going to talk about. Then we'll get you to the vocab quiz, all right? So if you need to, hit pause. If not, let's go ahead and take a look at our influence on lawmakers notes. Okay, to begin with, go ahead, Cornell note style this puppy up. At the top, title it Influences on Lawmakers. And the first one we're going to talk about is you. That's right, the voters. Now, some of you aren't old enough to vote yet, but hopefully once you turn 18, if you meet all the other requirements, you will vote, because that has a large impact on lawmakers. You influence them. Now, you will not influence them for every decision they make, but in some aspects you will. So, voters, constituents is number 1. Now, this is important. The constituents, if you recall, is the people that are represented by the lawmaker, all right? For example, the senators, the 2 senators from Arizona, they represent all of us, okay? They do care what we think about some issues. They do not care what people in Florida think, because those people are not their constituents. We fall under their territory, so we are their constituents. They care what we think. But when do they care about what we think? Well, let's take a look. What about controversial issues that affect our state? Woo! Absolutely. When it comes to controversial issues that affect Arizona or whatever state they represent, the lawmakers think to themselves, what would the voters at home want? Who are my people? Who do I represent? For example, the people in California want things that are completely different than the people in Arkansas. There are different people with different needs, all right? For example, there's a huge homeless population in California. That may not be true in Alaska. So if there's a bill that affects a state and it's very critical or very controversial, the lawmakers think, what would the people that I represent think? And they try to vote that way. They do that by conducting surveys, either on the phone. Maybe you've gotten a call, hey, would you like to take a quick survey? They figure out what the people of their constituency want, or their constituents. There it is. They figure out what their constituents want. No one's always going to agree, so they try to represent the most of the people. Or they might mail you something and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or more importantly, you might mail them something. That is right, one very important way to reach your lawmaker or your congressman or your senator. Old-fashioned mail, write them a letter saying what you think should happen on a specific bill or on a specific issue. They will take that to heart if it is a controversial issue that affects the state. Number two, issues with small impact on the state. If it doesn't affect the state or the people of the state that they represent, the lawmakers just rely on their own beliefs. They think to themselves, well, this doesn't have any impact on the people I represent, no impact on my constituents. So they elected me. That means they must trust me to make this decision. I'm just going to go on my own beliefs. As long as it doesn't affect my state and the people I represent, I'm not going to really care about the constituency. I'm just going to use my own beliefs. And then finally, the third topic that they might be voting on, foreign policy. What is foreign policy? Well, foreign means from another country. Policy is a rule or how we deal with something. So how we deal with other countries, guess what? You and me, you and I, we, nosotros, we don't have a lot of influence. We do not influence this much at all. They tend to think, lawmakers, in the interest of the entire United States, not just one state or one district, when it comes to foreign policy. How is it going to affect America as one, not just their own state? But don't get it twisted. Voters absolutely have a large influence on lawmakers. Now, number two, the second influence on lawmakers is political parties. That's right, that thing we talked about a long time ago that George Washington said, don't do it. It's not a good idea. It's going to increase people being upset with each other and not listening. Yeah. That has a huge influence on lawmakers. Now, what we call this party voting. When you don't vote how you feel or how your people want you to vote, you just vote with your party. Hey, what's everybody in my party doing? Oh, you're voting yeah? All right, I'm going to vote yeah too. They're all voting yeah? We're going to vote no. That's not good. That is called partisanship right there. It's a vocab word. Party voting, usually in the House of Representatives, members vote with their party about 2/3 of the time. That's about 66%. Less often in the Senate. We're going to come back to that point. Now, issues with strong partisanship. Now remember, partisanship means, hey, we believe what we believe, you believe what you believe. Partisanship, no community there. Bipartisanship is when you work together, when the two parties come together. Bi meaning two, like bicycle or bicameral legislature. Two parties come together, they work together for the same idea, same belief. That's bipartisanship. Partisanship is just when you're with your own party. You don't want to hear what the other party has to say. You disagree with them, all right? Issues with strong partisanship, usually the economy, any votes that have to do with farming. These are things that come up more often than some of those other topics we talked about earlier. What's the difference between a liberal and a conservative or a Republican and a Democrat? They still disagree on those issues, but those don't come up for votes as much as things like the economy or things to do with farming are huge backbone of this economy. Those issues have strong partisanship. Less oftentimes, or less partisanship is found in foreign policy. When we're working to protect America, usually everybody agrees. And that's bipartisanship. Bipartisanship is when you reach across the aisle. You work with someone across the aisle. That's the phrase. In some of those pictures I've shown you to start videos this unit, you've seen people in the House and people inside the Senate, and there's aisles that kind of divide them. If you walk up an aisle, you usually have your Democrats on this side, your Republicans on this side. If you can work across the aisle, that means you work with somebody that's not from your party to get things done for the better of this country. That's a bipartisanship, or working across the aisle. Now, all of this used to be fairly accurate until about the past 4 years happened. And now you can just take this, crumble it up, and throw it in the trash. Not just get it out of here, because recently there has been partisan voting at just an all-time high. Republicans vote with Republicans, Democrats vote with Democrats, and it is very rare that you see somebody working or walking across the aisle to work with somebody of another party. It is happening almost never, not even close to 2/3 of the time. The parties are so different, and they believe in such different things, and how the world should be run so completely differently, not even the world, our country, that they very hardly often work with the other party. You never see a Democrat voting with Republicans or a Republican voting with Democrats in either house, just because so many times there's just so much partisanship between the two parties. Hopefully, we can get back to something like this, or at least more bipartisanship, because clearly this new way isn't working. All right, let's see what number 3 is. Numero tres is el presidente. That's right, the president. Obviously, of course, the president has a huge influence on lawmakers, okay? 1, obviously, depending on party. 2, depending on party the opposite way. Maybe you want to vote how your president would want you to vote because he's part of your party. Maybe you want to vote against the president because they are not part of your party. Could go either way. Let's take a look up here. How can the president have an influence on lawmakers? Well, first off, they can appear on TV to sway public opinion. If they want something to get done, if they want a bill to be passed by the Senate or by the House and it's not getting passed, the president can go on TV and he or she can say, hey, I think this is a great bill. It should be a law. It's going to help out all these people. And it might help gather some public support, where the public sees the president and goes, wow, the president wants this to happen? Let me call my congressperson and say, yo, vote yes. It changes the dialogue around whatever the president wants, whatever, if it's a bill or if it's an executive order. I guess it wouldn't be an executive order. That's only for the president. However the president wants these lawmakers to vote, that person can go on TV and try to convince the public. If the public is convinced, the lawmakers become more convinced to help out and do exactly what the president wants, because the public now wants it. And then the other thing the president can do is give or withhold favors that are important to lawmakers. And this happens quite a bit. All right, the president might say, hey, we're coming on down there to Arizona. We want you to vote yes on this bill. And if you do, we will show up at a rally with you, for you, and I'll say, hey, I think you should vote for Senator Jimmy Lipper next year because I like him and he's great. And then Jimmy Lipper is like, ha! All the people start hearing that. Like, oh, the president likes Jimmy Lipper? Well, I'm going to vote for Jimmy Lipper again. So that's huge. That's called political currency. Like money, it's worth so much if the president comes down and, helps you out. Unless, of course, you're in a state or an area where people don't like the president that much. And then if the president comes down and says, hey, vote for this guy, everyone will be like, no, no. And that's not a favor. So maybe the president would do a favor by staying away. But these are definitely two ways that the president can influence lawmakers. Let's take a look at the last one. Okay, and last but not least, what we've talked about in recent weeks, Interest groups. That's right. Specifically, two things with interest groups. Number one, lobbyists. Lobbyists. You hear this term a lot. We've spoken about it just a little bit. Lobbyists are people who lobby or try to persuade you to do something. And there's a wide variety of lobbyists and a wide variety of things that they do to influence lawmakers. Number one is they will visit the lawmakers. They will travel. They get paid by somebody who, maybe it's a corporation or somebody that wants to see a bill get passed or not passed. That person will pay the lobbyists to go visit the lawmakers in D.C. if that's where they are, or in Arizona if that's where they're at the current time. Give them information. Hey, we did all these studies, and all this research, and we think you should vote no on this bill because look at what it's going to do to the economy. Look what it's going to do to your state. Look what it's going to do to your people. They give information. They persuade. Now, I put persuade in air quotes there because they still persuade them, but they do it sometimes in unlawful ways. They might say something along the lines of, hey, Mr. Senator, we'd really like you to vote yes on this bill. And if you do, there might be a car waiting outside for you. I don't know. It has nothing. It's not related. There's a car outside. The keys are right here. We don't, vote however you want. We want you to vote yes. But, here's a nice Rolex watch. Don't have to do what we say. No, we'd like for you to vote yes. We would. But the watch, that's just a gift. There you go. Enjoy it. Has nothing to do with how we want you to vote. Happens a lot. It's very, very suspect. So they try to persuade. They also try to encourage the citizens of that person's area or territory to write letters and to vote. They'll say, hey, make sure that you write your congressman or your senator and tell them this is what you want. They will go to the state. They will go to the territory, the districts, and talk to people and say, make sure you write your senator and your congressman so that they can hear what you're saying. They'll put in the time and effort to get a whole bunch of people to write or contact their congressmen or senators to try and vote a certain way. Now, the final one, political action committees. And remember, when you see this word, political action committees or PACs, just think moolah, young moolah, baby. Because that is all they are designed for. A political action committee is specifically designated to collect money from anywhere that it can get it and provide support for a candidate. These PACs get a lot of money and they shovel them towards the lawmakers. They say, hey, look at all this money we got. Here you go. This is your money. We want to see you do this. We'll give you all this money. You just do this. And they're like, okay. So that is another huge influence on lawmakers. Now, those are 4. That's 8. That didn't even look cool. 4. Those are 4 influences on lawmakers. Are they the only 4? No, certainly not. There's going to be some other things that influence lawmakers. A lot of times just their beliefs, how they were raised, how their parents would want them to vote, maybe something they saw on the news. Those were the 4 major influences on lawmakers. All right? Now, you will need that information for your test, not for your vocab quiz, which you are going to do now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is it for our notes today for our influences on lawmakers. Now it is time for that vocab quiz. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, here it comes. He's going to tell me I don't have to do the quiz. Wrong. Some of you already know the quiz was emailed to you earlier this morning, 8 a.m. It was sent to you. You got 20 questions on that puppy. Send me your answers. I don't care whether you write them in, whether you type me the answers, whether you just write them down on a piece of paper and send them to me. Doesn't matter to me, but you got 20 questions. Make sure you give me 20 answers, all right? And that leads us to today's attendance and assignment question. Very simple. 2 things. 2 things. Attendance. A picture of your notes that you took today. A picture is fine. However you took your notes is just fine. The last class, I told you guys to write them out. Some of you didn't write them out. You did not get full credit. You got to do the assigned assignment. Whatever it says up there, you got to do it. So if you don't do it that way, is where your grade's going to go. All right? Today, doesn't matter how you do it. Just send me a picture of your notes. That's your attendance, your assignment, vocab quiz answers. Duh. Send me 20 of those puppies. And that's it for the day. All right? That's it for the week, too, huh? We will see you guys on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful Friday tomorrow and a wonderful weekend. Enjoy it. Don't forget we got a test next week. Don't forget. All right, don't think about that over the weekend. Go enjoy the weekend. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys on Monday. All right? Take care.